This week we watch a film for the list that contains another film from the list. It's about to get meta. At number 49 on the list is Hot Fuzz. Welcome to Long Play Video. Welcome back to Long Play Video for number 49 of my 100 favourite list. Way into the 50s episode wise. Every episode we promised that we stop talking about that. We're not quite there yet. But at number 49, because it's a comedy, we've invited back resident comedy, in inverted commas, horror guest. So Natalie joins us in the shop again.
Hello, thanks for having me. I sort of stand by my statement that horror and comedy is the same thing. So thanks for that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, with Groundhog Day and Brewster's Millions,
point proven, I would say.
They've been closer than you'd have probably wanted. How are you? How are you?
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. I did sort of go off genre this weekend.
We noticed that all of the horror movies were in the shop. We exactly. Count them. So.
Although saying that, it was quite horrifying unexpectedly. I watched the new Ghibli film, The Boy and the Heron, and I was really excited about it. And it was great in that it was a bit more sort of wild and fantastical, like Spirited Away was. You know, lots of sort of weird. There's lots of different types of birds, and they're all doing different things, which is fun. But I felt like the main thread got a little bit sort of lost. It's about a boy who sort of loses his mum in the war, and then a few years later he has to move to a new place to live with his dad and stepmum.
Oh, Befriend a Heron.
Yeah, and
that sounds like a nice cheery Sunday
to
get you ready for the next week.
That's what I was expecting. I thought it would be like, they'll build their relationship and the birds help him, but it was actually just really terrifying. So it was kind of a horror.
It's just the birds. Yeah. Well, this is Studio Ghibli, and why? Yeah, you can't just sit down in front of any Studio Ghibli and expect it to be a kids movie.
No, I suppose not.
Yeah.
Kev, you watched any more since Totoro? Obviously, we've already covered Totoro on the pod, and you were excited to watch more. That's what you told my daughter, but like maybe that was just. Making promises you probably can't cash.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what a quote. I haven't seen any more recently, no, but I will add them to my list. How do you feel about that as an answer?
I mean, I was surprised that we have Boy and the Heron in the shop. To be honest with you, it's so new. I thought we had a strict 2005 cutoff for movies in the shop. So clearly, someone's been doing the stock ordering without me. But okay, that's good. I haven't seen it actually. I intend to watch it soon, but didn't know that it was a watch without my daughter.
I think it might be a bit much. Yeah.
I did know that. And I mean, it won an Oscar, and we all know that if you win an Oscar, you're probably not a good film.
It's a great film.
that's how the Oscars work.
Yeah.
Have you just been outplayed on movies on your own podcast, Andy? Just to make sure. Are you feeling all right? What's happened?
This is what today is going to be all about.
Yeah, you're actually going to recreate Hot Fuzz. This is what
we can do the sound effects. It'll be great. Yeah. But so we brought you in for another comedy, but a comedy that you've seen, and that you like. So Hot Fuzz, 2007, Simon Pegg, obviously.
Yeah.
Incidentally, directed by Edgar Wright, written by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, with the addition of Baby Driver at number 100 on the list, replacing Four Lions. Edgar Wright, the only director with more than 2 movies on my list. So by the numbers, now my favorite director.
Interesting.
Which I think is probably just about fair. Yeah. But obviously a part of the Cornetto trilogy. I presume that you've seen this film, although you never can tell.
I mean, there's a chance I've seen this film and also don't remember it. But no, I have seen all of the Cornetto trilogy. Funnily enough, I think I've only seen Shaun of the Dead once, bizarrely. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite of the three. I love this film. It's such a good film. Everything about it. I think, especially if you're from the UK, you get a real understanding of that, the whole, street festival of them, trying to win and have the best without like too many spoilers. Have the best of everything set up is very sort of rural England or rural Britain. And so, yeah, I absolutely love this film. Can't wait to watch it.
It's so funny, like listening to US based podcasts on this film, especially. I think like
Yeah.
movie podcasts and stuff, and yeah, I think that there's sort of a general appreciation for the skill that's involved. But then there's so many references that I think just they miss, or they sort of say, oh, well, the gun violence, no one actually dies, spoilers,
Yeah.
from the guns, and you're kind of like, yeah, but that's the point. Like
That's
all
that,
of the
yeah.
violence, and there is actually quite a lot of violence, but all of the violence is a very British type of violence. It's actually sort
Yeah.
of really sort of almost sort of quaint, and then all
Yeah.
of the gun violence isn't real and isn't particularly violent, and that's obviously what I think that he's trying to sort of point out in the film, is because obviously it's it is an action movie, and as well as being
Yeah.
like an homage to action movies. So
Yeah.
I
And
think
it's like parody, isn't it? It's like to all those sort of old school scenarios, those old school series. And it reminds me a bit of like not the same, but like Midsummer Murders or something like that. It feels like it's set in the same town.
yeah
And obviously, the whole thing about that is it's all silly because people, like literally every single person in that town has died. So there's no one left. And so that's the whole point. It's just silly and funny, right? That's what you don't just don't worry about it. So
yeah
yeah, I
yeah
think if
no
you missed
yeah
that bit, you really missed like some of the key bits of the film.
yeah no everyone's either a murderer or gets murdered in like a sleepy little village with
Yeah.
20 people. So
Yeah. So yeah, so what about you then, Nestle? You're a big fan? Are you
I am a
Edgar
fan.
Wright fan?
I am. I remember, I think I sort of accidentally saw Shaun of the Dead at the cinema. I remember being probably at college or school, and it it was out at the cinema. I think it was a rainy day. There was a group of us. We didn't know what to do, so we ended up at a cinema, and this was the only thing that seemed to appeal to the masses. And I remember loving it.
is this like your introduction to horror? Is this where it all stems from?
And the merging of horror and comedy. No, I don't know. I think to your point, like that. I mean, that sort of set me off on the trilogy. I think after that, because I hadn't seen Space by that point, so then I went back and I watched Space with Simon Pegg. So I think the thing that really hooks me with the whole Cornetto trilogy is that it's so British. It's set in a very British town, and it's not glamorous. It's just very average, and I think that's kind of part of the appeal. And to your point, maybe the part that of culture that Americans, it doesn't translate as well. I think it's still a comedy to Americans and so on, but I don't think they understand the sort of nitty gritty of like the British culture of it, and that's why I find it so funny. But yeah, Hot Fuzz. I think I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, it's not Shaun of the Dead. I think I didn't find it as funny. But then since seeing it again, yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really interesting point with Edgar Wright generally. I think his films, I think, are sort of very, and I don't want to put it into a generation, so I'm not going to say Gen X, but it's very much of a sort of video shop genre, because it is rewatchable. It is like that they are supposed to be rewatched. I don't think you get everything the first time that you watch them, and I think with all of his films, in actual fact, it is watching them kind of 3 or 4 or 5 times where you start, because there's so many references, there's so many callbacks, there's so many things that you don't sort of realize are there in the first time. And I think it's sort of almost a really interesting calling card for him, especially now when people don't rewatch films as much. But I think he's from a generation, or from a lifestyle kind of like Tarantino in that way of like being a real movie nerd, and sort of having videos all the time and DVDs all the time and rewatching, and like even now he sort of posts on Instagram like the 40 DVDs that he's watched this month, and sort of all keeps going through them. And
I feel like you've missed someone out on this list, Andy. You've got the key people in Edgar Wright, Quentin Tarantino. There's another person that we know who, classified movie greats, top 100 romantic films. That person who.
I mean, I feel like most people would put me in the same bar as Tarantino and Edgar Wright, but who am I to say?
Yeah. But so what about you then? When did you first see it, or what? Why was it give it to you? Is it that as Natalie is saying, that sort of quintessential sort of Britishness?
Yeah, no, it was. So I watched Shaun of the Dead quite early, and I was sort of on the Edgar Wright train quite early. I had watched Spaced.
See how he just naturally put that in, Natalie. I'm just so you all know, I'm ahead of the game, and you're all behind me.
I think there was also a little bit of an age difference to mean that.
There was a bit.
I was probably up a bit later on a Friday night.
Same for me as well, Andy. You're much older than me.
You just haven't aged as well. Obviously, it's a podcast, so people can make their own decision on that. I loved Shaun of the Dead, and so anticipated Hot Fuzz. Really wanted to go and see it. Went to see it at the cinema with my then girlfriend and now wife. So I think it was kind of a toss up between this and Shaun of the Dead. But I think first of all, Shaun of the Dead sort of being a zombie rom-com, and we know that I'm not that really into romance. So maybe I felt like that genre was covered by the list. But I think Hot Fuzz.
Question. Sure. Do you honestly think that Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are close in parallel?
I do. Yeah. They are close, but I would say I would say that Hot Fuzz takes a lot of Shaun of the Dead and executes it a bit better. But also, I would say that there are a lot of bits in Hot Fuzz that are funny because of Shaun of the Dead. I think these two especially. I think with The World's End, it's a very different film, and I think it's
rubbish.
No, it's not rubbish. It's maybe trying a bit hard, but it's a very different one. Whereas Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, I think, really, really are closely tied together. There's a lot of sight gags that are funny in Hot Fuzz because of Shaun of the Dead. There's a lot of even callbacks to Shaun of the Dead. I think Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are almost still Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg to a certain extent being in like spaced mode where they're almost writing a TV series. And so they presume that you've seen the first episode and they're going to reference it back in the second episode. I mean, obviously you've got the obvious like fences thing, but you've also like got the callback of being a monkey and stuff like that. So This is
why I can't watch any Studio Ghibli films, is because I'm now going to have to watch Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead before Hot Fuzz.
It is. I mean, there's loads of overlap, but I think obviously sort of stylistically they're similar, but I think Shaun of the Dead for me still feels a bit sort of TV and a bit like almost the novelty of being a zombie rom-com, which just is still just I think the greatest thing on a DVD cover ever, and I really enjoy it. But like the novelty of the genre, I think is what they play with more. Whereas with this, it is an action film, and it is an out-and-out action film. I wouldn't even say that it's a parody; it's a self-aware action film. But it is an action film, and the action set pieces are really good, and that's kind of that is almost like just sort of taking it to that extra level that when I have friends who haven't seen the Cornetto trilogy, this is the one that I put on.
I mean, you shouldn't have any friends if they haven't seen the Cornetto trilogy. They shouldn't be friends. Just to make that clear.
It's all the youngsters who are like, oh, well, I was 5 or 10 when it came out. You're like, you're not now, though. You're allowed to
dropping bombs everywhere. Look at me hanging out with youngsters. What's going on?
It's like, not something to be proud of.
You're having a midlife crisis on the podcast.
Andrew, can I ask, when you saw, did you say it was Shaun of the Dead you saw with Tiff?
No, this one.
Hot Fuzz. What did she make of it?
Yeah, she loved it. She really liked it. Again, because I think it's only kind of probably in more recent times, when going back to a bunch of the action movies from the US, you realize that actually there's a whole bunch of US references that you just didn't get. And also, like, watching stuff and then sort of understanding the references a bit more. So I think, it still works without those references. And I think over the years, obviously she's got the references more and more as she's seen the type of villages that this is based on. So I think that's and on most lists, I think this does kind of make it into top 10 lists of action movies for the 2000s, as in like for the like 21st century. Because it does still work on on that level, which I think is really good. And then I was reading an article on it as well, and apparently Edgar Wright really wanted to make it because he didn't think that there was any British cop movies. And I thought, like, I'd never actually thought about it, but like with British movies, very known for like the gangsters and the crime. But then I was trying to think, is there actually any British police movies where the police like, because obviously like the US is just littered with them, where the heroes are always the policemen. You got from Lethal Weapon to obviously the Great Rush Hour trilogy. It's always sort of the cops that are actually the heroes. And then I was thinking about it and just being like, I couldn't think of any. I couldn't think of any where the policemen are the main people.
You can think of like 100 different TV series, cop TV shows that were on, but not necessarily films.
I was just going to say The Bill. That's as far as I can get.
Bill. There were so many, weren't there?
I think Luther now has they've made a movie, and I think that's like that's the only one, but which is like Cop Gone Bad, which obviously is like
and based on a TV series.
But even obviously Sherlock Holmes, the police are all idiots in that. Like he's not a policeman. He's not the authority.
We have like spy films. So obviously we've got Bond, but then there's even TV shows. There was Spooks. It was kind of like, it didn't really focus on the police bit.
No one wants to sit for like 2 hours watching the Popo. It's like 30 minutes is enough.
Don't try and claw back being cool. No one says that anymore, Kev.
No,
I know, because I hang out with young people.
You can check with the youths that you're hanging out with.
So I thought that was really interesting. And then from kind of the movie geek point of view, the editing and the way that they put this together is just incredible. And again, it's the same editor who was on Shaun of the Dead, who's worked with Edgar Wright a lot. And then he actually, funnily enough, he goes on and wins the Oscar for Slumdog in sort of 2 years after this for the editing. And it is just, I think, and no real spoilers, but in particular, like the editing of him leaving London, I think is absolutely sort of editing and movie magic of just like the phone losing reception, very short cuts, trying to sort of making it dramatic. I mean, it is sort of that thing about Armageddon. The average cut is like 2 seconds or something ridiculous like that, because it just kind of flies from one thing to the other. And the way that they do that, and obviously they have a lot of sort of sight gags with it throughout the movie, but I do think it's I just think it's slightly more elevated than Shaun of the Dead, who sort of still does the same, with the tea and the sort of stirring and stuff like that. But I think this is just a better version of that in particular, which is kind of becomes a little bit of the calling card of Edgar Wright. It's kind of the quick cuts.
Yeah. And I think, like, from my memory of Shaun of the Dead, it's a bit more, I'd say, a bit more raw, and this is a bit more polished, isn't it? This definitely feels like a film, whereas Shaun of the Dead feels a bit more like an extended TV episode. It isn't as it feels very similar to Space, I think, in my mind from memory. Whereas this feels like a proper movie, and I think it hits all the right spots. There's so many good cameos in it. It's a who of British
actors. Like I think there's something like four Oscar winners in it. Like it is ridiculously stacked, and just is, especially like at the beginning with the police, and like each more senior policeman is just another another gem of British cinema. And then you've got Olivia Colman in it, who's just like adds a dose of Carry On humor in I think a very deliberate way, of just kind of adding that in, and adding like the British sort of Carry On tradition, which is just really funny.
Isn't Kate Blanchett in it?
She is.
A cameo.
Yeah, she's
an unseen cameo.
She's in it, briefly. So is Peter Jackson.
Is he?
Of Lord of the Rings fame. Yeah, he's the Santa, so you can watch out for.
Oh, really?
Wow!
Hilarious!
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Andy, can you like bring these little gems to every podcast now? You know?
I mean, just read the IMDb trivia page, Kev. Come on. How much research are you doing before you come into the shop? So did quite well. Did 80 million at the box office. Only spent 8 million to.
Oh wow,
to
that's
it.
amazing.
So,
I think
this is as well. Like this is with Edgar Wright especially. So Shaun of the Dead showed that he could do it, but almost the follow up is harder in some ways, and especially when the theme is, or the style is so similar. It's kind of okay, well, do you become sort of Wes Anderson, and it's just essentially the same style and the same theme each time, which obviously still does work because he's done a lot of great movies, or do you sort of expand and extend it a little bit more, which I would say that there are definitely kind of calling cards for Edgar Wright movies, but also they're not all the same movie, right? They are like different movies.
Yeah, I can't wait to get this on. Well, now I've got to watch Shaun of the Dead first, which is disappointing. But once I get through that,
you've got to do that while we won't even bother with the prediction. So you've got like 20 seconds to watch Shaun of the Dead.
Got so much to do.
Cool. Well, with that, I mean, unanimous. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get it on, and hopefully it's not a real disappointment.
Favorite?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a favorite. It's on my top 10 probably. The different films.
Yeah. Bombshell, number 1 out of your top 100.
Yeah, I would say it's probably in my top 10, top 20. I move stuff around quite a lot, but it's high up. Yeah. Especially between that and Shaun of the Dead, they're sort of on a par, I think.
I've got discussions to be had about Shaun of the Dead. I watched that before Hot Fuzz.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, to preload.
What did you think about Hot Fuzz? Because that's the podcast.
Yeah. Hot Fuzz is amazing. For me, Shaun of the Dead's got nothing on Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is just brilliant. It's just everything about it was perfect. I love the film. It's just so good. And I think that even the characters that they have are so well constructed. So Simon Pegg's character is so much better than his character, I think, in Shaun of the Dead. And all the other the people that they have, the police officers, and then all the old people, all of their characters are like well thought out of who they are, what they're going to be like. And I think for me, that really makes it this. And as you know, as we said, there's so many cameos as well. I think this film is 2 hours long, and it doesn't ever feel like it slows. The final scene, there's 30 minutes of the film left when that starts. Like that's a large amount of the film.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it's long. It's great. I really enjoyed it. What about you, Andy?
It does really stand up. I think because we talked about like the fact that I think all of his films, the more that you rewatch it, the more you notice, the more that there is. Yeah. So I know that with a few of the films that we've had, like on the more critical watching, you're a bit like, does that really work? Whereas this, you're still sort of finding finding funny things and sort of in jokes and like stuff that I've never noticed each time you watch it. And I do think that is true with Shaun of the Dead. I think Shaun of the Dead, the premise is very funny, and it is an extended TV movie more.
Yeah.
It is. It's not as polished. It is a little bit rawer than this.
Yeah.
This is very well polished.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It is about the characters, because actually the character development in this, is just much better. And you can see that sort of coming into it, a bit more sort of just from, I think both of them from a writing point of view, they clearly like developed all of the characters a little bit more, and they've the dialogue's a bit tighter and stuff. But there's so many funny scenes to it. I think, as we talked about the beginning, I think there's still the British versus US kind of type of film in it is really funny. The fact that all of the sort of horrific violence and gore is all really British. It's like the steeple or the kitchen shears, and then all of the sort of almost like American, as in American action film violence, which is the guns and everything else, is actually really tame. Like that, you don't actually.
No one gets shot.
None of it is actually that bloody. Although they do get shot. A few
of them get shot, but only like in the shoulder. It was weird, wasn't it? Rewatching it, I didn't remember that when I've watched it previously. That everyone who, when they're attacking and they're going through that final scene and having the fight, maybe they get shot in the shoulder. No one really gets shot dead, and then you see like it shifts, the camera shifts, and all of a sudden it's to like the plant pot above her head, and you think, oh, it's just going to hit on the head. And it's like, no, it like slices through her face and she still dies. Like it's still like proper gruesome. So I think I don't remember it being everyone still actually dies. I felt like I thought they got like knocked out. It's like, no, people just die.
And with the decapitation of the people even in the car and stuff like that, you actually see their heads.
On the seat.
And that's it. I think they definitely did that on purpose, where the guns are the least violent part of the movie in some ways. That's sort of, I think that
I don't know what you guys thought as well, but I don't remember. Like Timothy Dalton, I think he's the second best thing in this film. He's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
he was so good. He was so good. Yeah. What do you think, Natalie?
Shaun of the Dead was kind of spaced, but longer and with zombies. Like I think that's why that was maybe so beloved by original fans, maybe. And then this moved on to be its own, entirely its own film with references to the fence thing and whatever. But I just love this film, and I know we'll talk about it when we go through your specific questions, but I think it really stands the test of time. Like it's still really funny. I don't think it's really dated. I think it will still be funny in like 20 years when I watch it again for the 100th time. And it's kind of like the perfect blend, I think, of like British comedy. It's so specifically British, in its setting and in its comedy. And then, like you said, with the film references, that's where it gets more sort of Americanized. But I just think it's brilliant. I think it's an almost perfect film.
Yeah.
Oh,
high Andy, praise. I'm expecting some big things from your list here. I'm hoping you've thought about this.
It's funny because also very much of watching it this time, it's very much a Western. It sort of made me almost actually, as far as sort of things on the list, made me think of Yojimbo, and it's that sort of classic person, new sheriff in town, cleaning up the town, having to go against the people who run the town. It's the story is very much a classic story, but then it's really almost we reference like the fact there's no police stories in British cinema, and like the Lethal Weapons and obviously Rush Hours and other classics.
Yeah,
there were different genres. This felt very Western, and I think was almost sort of was shot with it, especially with kind of the clock and High Noon and stuff like that.
The horse, yeah. Yeah. Was there anything that you guys didn't like then?
So I'm gonna oppose something that you just said, which is, I mean, there's nothing I didn't like. I find the end drags a little bit.
Oh, really?
To your point, to your point, there's always a bit where I'm like, oh, it's still going. Like there is a little point. It feels like it's coming to an end for like quite a long time. And then I think by the time you get to the miniature village, I am a bit like, oh, but we're still here. But other than that, fair. I think other than that, there's nothing I don't like. I love this film. So I think the end drags a little bit.
Yeah.
That's really minor.
That's probably
the
fair.
thing is that's not even the end, is it? Because then you have the blowing up of the police station. The like Danny taking the bullet for Angel, and then but which I do think is also a choice. The fact that you get that in action movies where like there's all the baddies always got one more thing, sort of Lethal Weapon where they grab the gun and stuff. I know that, I mean, I got very much Lethal Weapon vibes from the fight in the miniature village, but also just the miniature village at I think is just such a great, is such also a great part of it. And also, when we first watched this, I then had to try and convince my wife that like miniature villages was a thing, and she was just like, that was weird, it's just in a field. I was like, yeah, but that is a thing. And then I remember that we went to, I don't know, somewhere in, I think it was Stratford or something, and like I was like, oh, we have to go and see the miniature village so that you can see it. And she was like, but it's just like, why has someone done this? I was like, I don't know. But like,
we don't know.
Loads of places have.
It's like just like crop circles.
Destination.
And then don't argue it.
Yeah. You always have to find the miniature village in the miniature village as well, because that's always the type of joke that people who make miniature villages love to do. So there are a few different endings, but I think that's. I think that's
they do it on.
They do it on purpose, and then because they just want to do the fake out, don't they? Where like with the gravestone and stuff, which is such a classic trope.
It's a proper.
But I would say I do think Timothy Dalton is probably my favorite of the cameos, because he's just so good. You can see he's just having fun with it right from the start. And there's loads of sort of interviews and stuff about, I knew I was shooting at James Bond and James Bond was shooting back at me. I'm not sure that if I see Timothy Dalton, I'm like, oh, he's James Bond.
James Bond.
I don't know. Is that harsh? I'm not sure that I
how many did he do? I don't know if I can remember how many he did. Oh, he did two.
Just did two.
I think he's fantastic in it. And I think, you can kind of tell, I think, because I don't know if he did anything between Bond and Hot Fuzz, but if he did, I don't know about it. And that's always my feeling, that he must have just seized the opportunity to have the time of his life, and you can really tell. He's great,
and he does so well in it, doesn't he? Like the little lines, and obviously they set him up, and that's where the writing really helps. Like when he's in the car and he's going past when they've just been decapitated, and in the music they've got, I can't remember what music is played, but I think it's Drive, isn't it?
No, it's Romeo and Juliet by
and then he says some like line that's connected to it all, and then you're just like, it'd be so smarmy, and he just looks so good, and he delivers them so well. I think he was so good. So, and in complete contrast, I think, and this might be controversial, Nick Frost is for me just super average. I don't even know if he's an actor. I'm like, is he just Simon Pegg's friend? I
think that's harsh. I think he's really good.
I don't think he's the Kevin James to Simon Pegg. As he's Adam Sandler.
Wow.
He's pretty rubbish. He doesn't really do much.
No, I think he's there as the comic foil, isn't he? He's there to be the Martin Lawrence or the I don't know, with Lethal Weapon. I don't think there's sort of one that's sort of more than the other. But equal, I think he does that really well. I think he delivers a lot of the comedy. It is funny because apparently in the original script there was sort of a love interest, and that was sort of supposed to sort of come into it, and they just realized that there just wasn't enough time for it, so they took a lot of the dialogue from that love interest and just gave it to Nick Frost. And so like the bit with the movies, and you need to learn how to turn off and stuff like that. I think he delivers it so well in like we're becoming friends, we're becoming mates type way, and also like asking all the questions when he first gets there. Like, have you ever been in a high speed pursuit? Have you ever shot a gun in a high speed pursuit? Is it true that there's a place when you shoot them in the head that
it explodes? Which he asked, at the school.
At the school, and that's the thing. Like, I just think he's so sort of relentless with it that even with kind of then the reveal and him like sort of not wanting to believe what's going on, and then there's so many sort of rapid fire lines that I think he has to, especially when they're doing the summary, where he's sort of they're talking through the summary and then he's like filling it in. I think that I think he's really good for the character that he's written. Obviously the character itself is the comic foil, but no, I think he's.
So you're wrong, basically.
I didn't. I just maybe because I remember him from Attack the Block as well, and he's pretty average in that as well. I think I was just thinking, what is he actually doing? But maybe not as bad as Kevin James.
When they're you take that. That's the Twitter spat for this week. Both Kevin James and Nick Frost coming. But even like when they're watching the play and you sort of see that like Angel's just sort of watching it, unbelieving at how bad it is, but he's watching it as though it's really good, and he's like really into it, and like I think they're sort of when he dies, he sort of it sort of switches to him and he's like and he just kind of like, it's Romeo and Juliet, I mean, obviously not based on the play but based on the movie, but like his reactions and stuff in it are just really good, and I think it's I think he does really well not to get in the way almost.
Maybe
I think some of my funniest moments are with Nick Frost in it, or Danny, isn't it?
Danny.
I think the bits that make me laugh the hardest are his, and they're like, but really minuscule moments that that would like you could miss, like his absolutely tiny toy cowboy hat that he then puts like a rain protector over. That's one of my favorites.
when they're dressed up and he gets handed back the gun and he's like, because he's done it all. I said there is in the car chase as well. There's a moment where he's shooting the gun, and he actually says "bang, bang, bang." He's shooting the gun. And again, I'm not sure whether that was in the script or whether he was just doing that old thing. But
what did you guys think of the Olivia Colman one? Like, do you think? I know we sort of briefly mentioned it. Do you think it's still fine? Do you think it's, because I know we sort of said it's a bit like what was it you said, Andy? Yeah, Carry On films. Yeah, I don't know. What did you think, Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of don't know what to say. I think she's just part of the furniture of the film, and I think she's supposed to be. And I think she's supposed to be the only woman there. I think it's a small town. It's going to be run by the local like men. Like, I think it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
she blends
deliberately.
I think she's supposed to be like deliberately a bit foul and a bit I think she's supposed to be there in that capacity, and I think it makes sense within the context of it being in a small town. So I think and she plays it really well. Like, she can do anything, and I would love it. So I would just
she is very good.
Yeah,
I think it's something that just gets better because she's gone on to be Olivia Colman. So I think it just now adds like layer on layer to it, because you're almost like, that's what she's given, but she's an Oscar winning actress and like just absolutely amazing. And obviously, is Doris just given like the rubbish things to do because she's a woman in the station and in the village? And actually, you know, she would be amazing if she went to London. And I think there's just there's now like other layers to it that you're just. I think it almost makes it funnier because she's obviously such a great actress. That then there's a whole other layer because you can just see, especially because even with her persona, and obviously you never sort of know with the interviews and everything else how much she's still acting. But like her persona is sort of quite naughty and so on, Graham Norton and stuff. She has that sense of humor that she's kind of portrays. And again, I'm always a little bit suspicious about how much an actor is actually their real selves on TV because they're actors. But that's the thing. It plays really well with her acting, which is, I think it's also funny, sort of some of the choices, the fact that for the birthday she's wearing the fake boobs. Like it's such a sort of funny thing to have because obviously she's got boobs because she's a woman, and so that's where it's sort of that's where I think it's sort of funny and almost naive and sort of it brings the sort of some of the innocence to it because so many cameos, so many obviously British actors in there. One of the Andys, this was something that I learned. One of the Andys is actually the kid in Shaun of the Dead.
Rafe Spall.
Who like is giving him sort of trouble in the shop. And won't do the work in the shop. I didn't realize that.
He's the kid that's like, you've got red on you.
That one.
He's grown up the most between the two films.
And he's really good in it as well. I think he's perfect casting.
The two Andys are good.
Throwing the bin is just funny.
That always gets me.
I think like that is the type of thing that used to happen in workplaces that doesn't happen anymore because it would catch someone and then they'd get an injury and stuff like that.
You'd have to take 2 weeks off.
The only thing that I thought, I wondered whether it's not that it dates it, but just something that I was like, do people the V sign and like doing the V sign to someone, I couldn't even remember what it was called, and I just think you never see that anymore. You never see people like swearing with their fingers, which in the 90s and sort of before was a real thing. Like if you got caught doing that at school, you were in lots of trouble and stuff like that. Do people still swear with their hands these days?
Will admit I do it to my boss when he can see me through the meeting room.
Nice.
As a joke. But it's probably just me and him.
I have been up in front of HR for doing it.
But it's a little bit, but no, not really.
Not the V.
Not the V. No.
Yeah, you go with the single these days. Yeah, it's all about efficiency, Andy.
It's the that's the flipping the bird from the US. So maybe it's no, I just when I saw that I was just like, do people still do that? I haven't seen that.
On Andy, I can do it to you at the start of every pod if that makes you feel better.
So jog on. But I think it's one of the other things that from things that I sort of noticed this time when they with the swear box, they've used hashtags on all of the words apart from the C word. Because that's fine just to write that one, but all of the others they've like obscured, and I thought that was just a really funny like small touch to it.
That's a good pickup. Nice. What did you guys have for your description to the aliens?
Oh, this is my worst question that you guys give me because I always feel like I make it sound really boring. But I've just gone to city police officer takes on a small town job and has an unexpected and thrilling challenge from the local.
That sounds good. I'd watch that.
Would you? I think I've made it really sound really bland.
I'd be really impressed about how much better the film was.
I mean, what about you, Andy? I just had the warning to the aliens. The British countryside is the most dangerous place to live in the world. I think that's maybe that's then means that when they invade, we can go to the countryside because they'll think that it's really dangerous there and that there's lots of guns. Everyone and their mother.
Exactly.
Yeah, literally everyone
The farmers.
and their mother.
Who else?
Farmers.
The mums.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
How about you? Did you have a?
I put a quaint village in the UK is home to the biggest serial killers. So yeah, similar to you, Andy. Yeah, it's like stay away from the villages.
I do actually know someone who, when this came out, that went to school with Edgar Wright in the village.
Oh yeah,
and was actually really like annoyed the fact that the village doesn't sort of look like that, or that he'd edited stuff together, and he was like, well, that street doesn't go to that street. And I didn't have the heart to tell him that, like, it's just really clear that he's annoyed that some kid that he went to school with is now a famous international director. But he was really put out.
Wow.
that the Edgar Wright,
the continuity
hadn't kept the village exactly as it was, and had edited it and stuff. So
that person sounds like they can't enjoy anything. So
it sounds like that person should be in the with the crusty jugglers. They should be in the
exactly
in the undergrowth.
What was there a genre, or was there something that you thought about that you would add to it?
I actually I struggled with this as well. I think the film's a bit too self-aware for it to kind of change without it becoming an entirely different film. Like I think if you took all the funny bits out and then just let it be a thriller, but then it's not the same film. So I actually I'm not sure you could. I think the point of the film is that it knows what it's doing. So I think it would be quite hard to change without it being a completely different film.
Yeah, I have 3 words for you: Tom Cruise cameo. Obviously, Simon Pegg's mates with him now. I think like having a shot of the fun run. In my mind, like having Timothy Dalton in the fun run, and just having like Tom Cruise in the background somewhere running in like the Stanford 5K fun run, I think would nowadays and I think Tom Cruise would be up for it nowadays. That's the thing. Yeah. But like Tom Cruise in the background running somewhere just as a sight gag, I think they'd be able to pull that off now, because funny enough, this is actually after Mission Impossible 3. Okay. Simon Pegg's actually done Mission Impossible 3 before this.
Yeah,
so
he's already that early.
Yeah, he's already sort of starting to move over.
What about the characters then? Who are the favourite characters that you wanted to be, or you thought you most like?
Well, the one I'm probably most like is Bill Bailey at the front of reception, being really annoyed.
Which version?
Except on both. But I mean, I don't think I'm like anyone really. Hopefully not Olivia Colman.
Well, you did confine to us that you're flipping your boss.
Well, that's true. Oh my God, maybe I am.
I've been around the station a couple of times.
Exactly. Oh no.
Yeah, I just thought it's such an ensemble. I didn't actually have anything for this. I don't think there's any character that stands out almost above anyone else. I think the background characters are really funny and stuff.
Yeah, everyone's so good,
and everyone gets a good line. I feel like everyone. Everyone gets sort of to deliver something and to do something, which I really like in a movie where you just kind of like. Everyone's on form.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because they, like we said at the start, they just really developed all the characters, and there's actually quite a lot of characters in this, but they develop them in just the right way, and so you get enough about them. Like the journalist, that's a really good character. They build him up, and you start learning a little bit more about him, and then dead, and then it's perfect. I think that they do it. I think the character development is just so good. And that really helps, like to your point, Andy, that everything's just so good about it. And so it just doesn't, you don't have to just be one. Everything brings it together and holds it. And it was I thought everyone was brilliant in it. And such a good cast. Gosh, some great cameos, great characters in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and obviously we won't talk about mine and your dynamic being similar to Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
I mean, if you're calling me Kevin James, I'm gonna be. I'll be getting on a flight to the UK. It won't be edited. It will be quick. Yeah.
We made it to 50, and then there was a Kevin James comparison. It went off the rails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
but I mean,
what
so
about
many,
lines then?
so many good lines. Watching it this time, I did when they're having the conversation. He's like, "What about Lethal Weapon? What about Die Hard? You must have seen Bad Boys too." It actually kind of reminded me a bit about when we first started talking about my top 100, Kev. I'm fairly sure that you then were like, "What about Die Hard? Die Hard's got to be in it. What about like Lethal Weapon? That's got to be in it."
And none of these are in it. I mean, come on, what's wrong with you?
I love that. I do love just the first like couple of minutes with Kate Blanchett, another great actress. But we're just like where he's like, "Oh, does Bob look like the type of person I'd date?" And you just hear Bob go, "Oh, yeah." And then it's like, "It's Dave. Hello."
Yeah, just such a good scene.
I do love that. I love when he describes the shoplifter as well. That's Auntie Jackie's sister's brother's boy. I just think it's great because obviously small village, you do get that, which is always good.
Or when Nick Frost is like, "I'm not made of eyes," which gets me every time as well. Yeah, of course, he's such a child in it.
Yeah, he really is.
And by the power of Grayskull, I would have thought that you'd love that reference, Kev.
Yeah, that was a great reference. I forgot about that one, and that was really good. I like the one that they reference the jugglers quite a bit. One of the first time they reference him is we're up to our balls in jugglers, and I thought that was quite a nice line.
When he's explaining the whole thing about, she said, "I love the plant more than her," and he says, "Oh, is that why you and Janine broke up? Because you did it with a plant." I think it's just that right level of juvenileness. That's great. As well as the fact that even during the shootout, he's wanting it to be more action movie, and so he's like, how's when he comes back, he says, "How's Lurch?" "Oh, he's in the freezer." "Did he say something cool?" He said, "No, I didn't say anything." He's like, "Shame." You've got this opportunity. You need to say something. You need to say something cool.
Yeah, you miss it out. Yeah, and then when they have when he first moves into the hotel and they're talking about the crossword clues, and they're talking about fascism, and he's like, and then they had the interaction. He went, "Hag," and she's like, "Excuse me." It's like 3 down.
Yeah, and I love it as well. This time I picked up just as a weird line when they're in the supermarket and one of the Andys gets shot in the face, but obviously it's just and he says, "It's all right, Andy. It's just bolognese." That just really tickled me this time. Yeah. But when he's as well as when they're at the pub and he's drinking the Guinness and he says, "Oh, you've got a moustache."
Oh yeah, and they're like, "I know."
There's so many great lines. I mean, I did notice as well that they were talking about making Stanford great again, and this is obviously pre-Trump. So did Trump just copy Hot Fuzz?
Trump loves Hot Fuzz.
Yeah. The greater good. He could. I can see that coming out now from Trump.
The greater good. Yeah. The reviews were very mixed.
Really?
There's a lot of comparison for the 3-star reviews. I think a lot of people liked it, but maybe didn't like it as much as Shaun of the Dead. So someone said not as good as Shaun of the Dead or Paul, which then obviously that person is a 3-star movie watcher, maybe 2 stars, because Paul isn't a good movie, unfortunately. Yeah. Someone said that their youngest loves Simon Pegg, and that was kind of okay. And I was like, okay.
Yes. 3 stars.
A nice, And a nice throwback. This was the first DVD I rented after joining the Amazon rental by post scheme, and it completely vindicated my decision to join. I don't think we've had a 3-star review that's been quite as dated as that 3-star review. What dates the movie? One of the 3-star reviews, unfortunately.
Wow, so that is super old.
Yeah. And then someone said the DVD has easily been lost way back on the shelf. Nice try. As though like
it's a challenge.
Where the DVD sits on his shelf is obviously very important. Yeah. But these
sound like 1-star or 2-star reviews. They don't sound like 3-star reviews.
They're very damning. Wow. One person actually clarified that their review was a 2.5 star.
Nice.
But they couldn't put it in. Which was funny. And then the longest one that I just thought was funny. Let's all calm down, shall we? Giving this film 5 stars may seem like a logical thing to do when the excitement of watching it remains, but steady as she goes, readers. This isn't a masterpiece. This isn't better than Spaced, or up there with Spaced, and likewise, it isn't fit to dance nicely alongside Shaun of the Dead either. Yes, we all like Simon Pegg, we all like the film reference that he blinds us with, but the actual story and its execution with Hot Fuzz isn't as amazing as my fellow reviewers would have you believe.
Crazy. That person's got no idea what they're talking about.
That person's in a conversation on their own with the rest of the reviewers.
Yeah.
Which, So then the weird criticism, tighter script and better editing would have made this 4 stars.
Weird. Because, that's exactly what's happened from Shaun of the Dead.
Unless that's written by Steven Spielberg or a multi-Oscar winning editor. Then I always love it when people are like, well, this would have been better if you'd done it this way. And you're like, are you professional? Are you?
You know about this.
Someone actually said it was really predictable at the end. Which again, I was a bit like, what, you thought that it was be a fight in a model village and someone would get a spike in there in their mouth.
Their jaw, and it was everyone. No, I wouldn't have. And the fact that it was all of them, I definitely didn't see that coming when I first watched it.
Yeah, I think because since the last time I watched Hot Fuzz, I think I mentioned this in another podcast I did with you guys. I watched a sort of countdown of like the top 100. I don't know if it was horror films, but it was like special effects in films, which included a lot of like horror and sci-fi. And there were a couple of things in that list which they actually say are referenced in Hot Fuzz, which I hadn't known. So like one of them is, I think it's Eyes Wide Shut, like, because I think they're in like a cult. So I think that's the sort of the community. Maybe if you'd seen that, maybe you would have predicted it, but it's quite specific.
And then they don't all have sex with each other, which I think is what happens. Eyes Wide Shut, right? So,
otherwise it would have been on it.
Tom Cruise cameo. There's an overlap.
That's true.
So maybe I don't know if you would have predicted it, not in that way.
No. I love the fake out as well, where he's got all of the reasons behind it, and they're like, no, just they're rubbish actors, and that just really annoys us. And I like the fact that like all of the explanation about why they've done it and the wanting to keep the village the way that it is and the property development actually is just all wrong. They're like, she had a really annoying laugh. So we just murdered her. It wasn't actually for anything else. So I love that there's that fake out. And then one person said, my son of 10 watched it sadly and had nightmares after. Don't be misled into thinking that it's good for children, even 10-year-olds. It isn't.
Is anyone trying to mislead anyone about it being a children's film?
Yeah. It's probably not for 10-year-olds. I'm not sure.
No, it's a 15. So don't let your 10-year-old watch it. Be a better parent.
Yeah.
What did you have for the algo then?
So without saying obviously the Cornetto trilogy or any of the films it's referencing, the film I thought of was maybe Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It was a sort of like horror comedy ish. Yeah. I think you get a few. Oh, have you seen it? Okay,
it almost made the list. To be honest with you, I've got the DVD. So it's on my it's on my.
I'm glad to hear that.
My DVD shelf almost made it. It is very funny, and it's got the whole meta. It is a horror movie, but it's not. You should definitely watch it. It's like a sort of kids get lost in the woods with sort of psychopaths going after them, but from the other side, from the hillbillies, like side of things. And there's some very funny scenes in it.
Yeah. I'll give it a go.
So, but that's that, you know, maybe it's sort of quite self-aware comedy about the genre, maybe.
Yeah. That sounds like a good one.
What did you have?
I had obviously we mentioned Lethal Weapon already, so I've mentioned that. Rush Hour you mentioned earlier as well. I had that on there. Tango and Cash, which I think, you know, there's lots of similarities with but maybe they're a bit more even that versus Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. 21 Jump Street, that was another one I had. That's that sort of.
Do you think 21 Jump Street is aware of itself?
Yeah. I think it's doing that deliberately. I don't think it's. Do you not think?
I always struggled a bit with it because I was just I was always a bit
the film, not the TV series.
Yeah, a TV series, classic, obviously. I was high on life, man. That's a great Johnny Depp line. No, the TV, the movies, I was always a bit like, you're trying to make it funny and you're sort of referencing the TV shows, but then are you actually, are you self-aware or are you trying to be self-aware? I don't know. I was always a bit like...
I think it's trying to be. There's like that scene where they think they're in like a car chase and they think every time something happens that a car's going to blow up and it never does, and then it like hits a chicken and then there's like a massive explosion. Like I think it's taking the mick out of itself the whole time.
Maybe I'm just not a fan.
I think we're sensing that. I think maybe you should watch that. I'll watch Tucker and Dale tonight, and you should watch this. Yeah.
I'll put that on the list after Solo. I think so.
Cool. Look, don't be getting too clever about this now. What did the Algo have then?
So the Algo straight out the door had the other guys.
Yeah, okay.
And I thought like it then had a whole bunch of it leaned very heavily into Beverly Hills Cop, funnily enough. Out of all of the sort of out of all of the action movies that are parodies and stuff, it had Beverly Hills Cop like 1, 2, and 3 after Bad Boys. But the other guys, I thought that is pretty close actually.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, it's on Andy's list.
Is it?
That's why he loves it so much. Yeah,
I might have. Maybe I have to rewatch it.
No, don't do it.
Watch the podcast. You really liked it, Kev. No. What are you talking about?
I'm not sure I really liked it.
Let's have a look at let's have a look at your list. No,
it's in the other. It's in the other section. In the OK section, yeah.
You liked him on The Wedding Singer. I know Natalie will be shocked by that.
I am shocked.
That's a good question. Yeah, it did. Wedding Singer didn't hold up as well after you watched it again. It was just it was a bit flat. It wasn't that good. It was a bit too much. What did I say? I can't remember why I didn't like it, Andy. And it wasn't I didn't like it. I put it in the OK section. But
that film on an almost daily basis.
Yeah. You are definitely the Olivia Colman of your own list.
Oh,
no. This is the revelation of the podcast.
Boom.
I'm devastated.
So, Andy, you're going to give it to the Algo then with your love of the other guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
it begins.
To pull out. No one knows who fired first. No, I think I do think that's a particularly good. It's a good call out. I think.
Yeah.
That I mean, I'm sure there are other ones described as action comedy, but to be able to pick up the sort of meta-ness of it and the loving homage to the genre. I think that's there's nothing just in the description that would let the Algo know that those two films are similar.
Well, there you go. On your head be it. Let's see what happens. This is the end of the beginning of the end. All right, so it's currently 49. With me and Natalie have just said how much we loved it. You said you enjoyed it. Where's it going on the list?
Yeah, it's moving up. I was trying to sort of sense how far to move it up, and I think I got to 42, and then I was kind of like, the film at 41. I was a bit like, I'd probably still rather watch that than this from a favorite point of view. So Yeah, I think I'm gonna move it up to 42. It feels a bit too close to halfway point, but I think moving it up just because over the next few weeks I was like, oh yeah, no, I think this is better than that. Then we go through a little bit of a spell now of like late 1900s films, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, I think I think it might just get above that. So
1900s.
That's
old.
That's what the kids call the 1990s.
I was like the Victorian era, and then I was like,
I was thinking like, what is he on?
No, apparently that's what the kids call the 1990s. So just to make.
There's no way the kids do that. Absolutely
they do. I have seen it, but also like, don't wear our clothes from the late 1900s and then call it the late 1900s.
1900s. That's ridiculous.
That's really sad.
That's I mean, it's Andy, it's coming back around.
Yeah.
Keep that kind of information to yourself. No one wants to hear about that sort of terminology. Pretending you're hanging out with the kids. No.
How about you, Kev? Where did it go on your list?
Yeah, well, I did really like it. I did think it was really good. I was trying to work out where I'd put it in relation to the other films that I've got on there, and I think it's got to go in at the top. It comes in as a new number one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Straight in. Bang.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think it's just had to happen.
This half of the list is going to be crazy.
What else could happen? Join us next week.
Wow.
So there you go.
It does go to a lot. I did think, because obviously you watched Shaun of the Dead. I think a new category for the top half should also be best double feature. Best double feature choice. And I think I would always try to make it a double feature from my top 100. And then we could do is the double feature better with one from the top 100 or not
from the one that I suggest.
Yeah.
Should be Tango and Cash, the obvious one you'd watch after this. I mean, well, you do anything else, I don't know.
You'd have to do Shaun of the Dead.
Well, I could tell you it did it.
Surely.
Well, there's only two jokes, which is the monkey and the fence.
Yeah.
No,
and you wished you'd watched Tango and Cash.
I do wish I'd watched Tango and Cash.
It's a Saturday. I just always wish I'd watched Tango and Cash.
Yeah. It's just such a good film from the 1900s.
Yeah.
19 not even the late 1900s. Yeah. So we'll add that in, and because obviously the algo would say the other guys, which would be the double feature. So but I do think I just think to see the development as well of their skills and of everything else. Then I think Shaun of the Dead to this, I just think it. And I haven't seen Shaun of the Dead very recently, but I just think it sort of shows that development and shows even like a 1 and a 2, even more than like watching the whole trilogy. I've watched The World's End a few times, and it's fine, but it kind of feels like they've all moved on and they just went back to doing a trilogy, much like which makes it almost more meta, because it's very much like The Godfather, where 1 and 2 they're done, and they thought they had to make 3, but they shouldn't have. So obviously the next time we'll see Edgar Wright, he's actually making a remake of The Running Man. Is that
really?
Brilliant?
Is that on your list, Kev? That falls in your genre. I don't think I've ever seen it.
No, I haven't.
Oh my god! Wait, I'll have to put it on my list, and you'll both have to watch it. It's with Arnie.
Right.
Yeah. I think there was an original film made pre-Arnie, like way back, and then the Arnie one is the one to watch, and it's brilliant. It's well worth watching.
Yeah. So picking up a lot of top actors for that. So that'd be an interesting one.
Nice. Yeah.
Bit of sci-fi. Yeah. Well, thanks. Thanks for coming down to the shop.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Anytime.
Good to have a comedy that you enjoyed this time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm surprised that you didn't say things that would improve the movie and opening school to explain where we are and what we're doing.
Break all or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Instead, we had a very high edited summary of his skills, including advanced cycling, which I did. So it's another great game. Yeah, for next week, as a quote, just drops off the tongue, but I think we'll go with the quote. Wood drastically underestimates the impact of social distinctions predicated upon wealth, especially inherited wealth. Yeah, you got that from Vickers, right? Work in Essex County, page 98. I think if you know, you'll know, and if you don't,
I'll tell you
seems
what,
like no one in the shop knows.
God. I've got to say, I'm not looking forward to next week now.
Oh God!
I don't know.
Yeah, please say thanks to Tom Miller for the theme song when you leave the shop, and we'll see you next week.